Just remember this, a kiss is just a kiss, a sigh is just a sigh. The fundamental things apply as time goes by.
Keep up the noise! Make the noise as loud as you can for our final act! Ben Thurston! Hello. Now, I know you've seen the jacket. Right. And I know what you're thinking. This guy looks like a massive bellend. Well, it's more complicated than that, but I'll get to it, right? We're definitely going to see the fucking eye, by the way. It's locked in. I was on my way out this evening, and I was just zipping up my jacket, putting my gloves on, and my wife said, "I think you might be having a midlife crisis." And I took my helmet off, and I said, "Why?" And she said, "You don't have a motorbike." So, I just turned 40 about 10 days ago. Yeah. You could clap as well. I mean, that wouldn't be inappropriate, I don't think. Yeah. Thank you. And it's kind of kicked off a sort of time of reflection for me. I started to think about, what happened to the lad I was, the young, sort of thrusting, the kid who on his... What happened? The kid who on his 12th birthday pierced his own nipple. Although, in fairness, that was an accident. As my dad said at the time, if you're going to put a badge on, put a shirt on. So... And a couple of years ago, I tried to kind of recapture my youth by growing my hair long, and it looked awful. It looked like a cross between James May and Theresa May. So that didn't really work. And I noticed, I hang around with a lot of sort of younger comedians and stuff, and I noticed we don't even really seem to share a language anymore. There was one guy in particular I really got on with for a while, and we used to sort of hang out. We really liked the same kind of music, and we listened to the same music all the time and stuff. And one day we were at a party, and someone said, "You two are good mates, aren't you?" And I put my arm round him, and I said, "Yeah." And I was thinking about the music that we like, and I said, "Yeah, he's my little funk buddy." I've barely spoken to him since. I don't. Who knows? You know what I hate is when people say, "You don't look 40. I'd have guessed you're about 38. It's the fucking same, isn't it? That's just rounding. It doesn't mean anything. Someone said to me, it's all right because you're a comedian and being a bit older means you've got life experience, doesn't it? But I haven't. I've just watched more telly. I haven't had a good life because I was watching The Good Life. I don't know who I am because I was watching Who Do You Think You Are? I hate my so-called life because I watch The One Show. So it just doesn't really work. There's more things. It's all new. Who knows about these things? What I've worried about recently is being left on my own, because I am sort of happily married, but whether, it could happen to anyone by bereavement or just getting found out. And I'm not really built for dating. I can't imagine going through that. I don't have the personal charm of sort of Simon Cowell or Peter Stringfellow. It's not what I've got. And so when I imagine what would happen to me if I got left on my own, I can really clearly see that I wouldn't meet a sophisticated woman my own age. It would be, I'd end up with a 23-year-old girl, and the kind of 23-year-old girl that your mates go, "You're going out with a 23-year-old girl? That is amazing." And then they meet her and go, "Oh, right." In much the same way that they go, "You're doing stand-up now? That is amazing." And then they come and see you. All right. So if I went out with a 23-year-old girl, I'm really aware I would ruin her life. It would just... It is what would happen. There's no sort of getting away from that. And I'm not saying she'd be an unattractive girl. She's just earnest. And It's not a fashionable name for a girl, Ernest, is it? It's not. And it would go wrong, and I can see now sort of her looking up at me in that uncomprehending way with the big soulful eyes like Twiggy or Nicholas Lyndhurst, and I don't know. I can't see it working. And I worry as well about if I was on my own. Like, I don't so much worry that I would die and nobody would come and find me. It's more that I would die and then they would find my fossilised remains. And that 30,000 years from now, the Time Team folk would be holding a press conference and going, it's very exciting. We're calling him Bath Man. He's been fossilised in a seated position. We can analyse even the contents of his stomach. He seems to have had about 3 or 4 cans of cheap lager. And we don't know exactly what they are, these little cake things, they seem to have a smashing orangey bit. It's maybe a historical thing we've lost. He's got sort of 40 or 50 of those in his stomach. So, and there's a question from the floor like, is that what killed him? We can't say for sure, but it is a fuck of a lot of little cakes, isn't it? And we caught him, we think, in the act of searching YouTube, looking for videos of the Smiths from about 1986. Is that in the fossil records? No, but that's what people like this do. So, people like this. I don't mean people like this, I know that's not. People, but then, is there anything else he'd have done? He'd probably have watched Stuart Lee videos over and over again. Is it reasonable to say he's quite a ludicrous figure? He's worse than that. He's a fucking moron, really. Just a dreadful, dreadful little man. Are there any hints to his identity? His name's Ben Thurston. Yeah. At Ben Thurston on Twitter. 112 followers. Just pathetic. How old is he? He looks about 38. And so, right, about a year ago, I decided I was sick of the things I was doing for a living. I hated my job, I was miserable, and I decided to listen to the people who said, do what you love. And since I was a little kid, what I've loved is the Fonz. So, I decided I'm going to be a professional Fonzie impersonator. It sounds daft, but there's not another UK-based Fonzie impersonator. There's one in the States, but by the time you paid for him to come over, you could have got Henry Winkler. So, fun fact, if you look at his website, there's 6 photos of him, a total of 11 thumbs on show. It goes like this. 1.83 recurring thumbs per photo. A younger comedian wouldn't have bothered working that out. So, you know. And the trouble was, I started advertising it and I wasn't getting a lot of bookings, and it soon became... You've got to imagine it with the hair, by the way, not like he's given up and got into Britpop. It's like, the whole fucking thing was... And I decided that the problem was I didn't look enough like the Fonz, because Henry Winkler, he's an attractive man. He's got a high Roman nose. I've got a kind of Celtic squash nose like a Hobbit or Lorraine Kelly. And so... I decided I needed to have surgery, and that was the only way forward. And so I went and saw a plastic surgeon, and he dealt with sort of gender reassignment, people having sex changes. And I went in there and I said, I want to have this surgery on my nose. And he said, well, why do you want that exactly? And I said, because I want to be the Fonz. And he said, right, and how long have you wanted to be the Fonz? I said, well, really my whole life I felt that I would be more comfortable as the Fonz. And he said, so it's not just something you thought about, it's not a whim. I said, no, it's really, I'm sure that what I want to be is the Fonz. And he said, well, any reputable surgeon such as myself is going to need to see evidence that you've lived as the Fonz for a year or more before we can commit to giving you the surgery to make you... So that's when I got my motorbike. See, that bit earlier, when I said that was a joke. I'm not having a crisis, I'm like the Fonz. Just like the Fonz. And so I got a motorbike, and then weirdly, really oddly, about that time, it was about when I started taking antidepressants, things started looking up. And I sort of felt, well, perhaps I don't have to be a Fonzie impersonator. Perhaps I could. And I found another job working for the transport department of the local council. And at that time, I thought, well, I need to. It's no good. This jacket is essentially just a bit of fancy dress. I need to get proper leathers. So I got proper leathers with the trousers and everything. And I looked like a Power Ranger had fucked a gimp. It was brilliant. Or that Pixar had made, this is what my wife said, more like Pixar had made a film about an animated piece of leather furniture who rode a motorbike called Evil Can Armchair. And the meeting with the sustainable transport group, who were really anti-car, was the same day as I got my new leathers. And the day before, the boss had said, well, tomorrow, obviously, don't drive your cars to work, don't ride your motorbikes. These people are going to contribute money towards cycle paths. I need you to come on the bus, walk, cycle, whatever. We need to make a good impression. And I thought, no, I've got new leathers. Nobody's going to know. I'll just ride my bike in. So I rode my motorbike in, and I came in, and I took my jacket off, took my helmet off, straightened my tie, looked down and thought, I've not brought my work trousers. Now, you might think you've been humiliated, but if you've never had to go into your boss's office and beg to borrow their trousers, you really haven't. And obviously, she said no. So, and she said, you'll have to do it in your pants. And I took my leather trousers off, and she went, no, that won't do. Because I don't know about you, I've never thrown a pair of pants away. I rely on losing them. That's normal, right? And I'm kind of happily married. I don't go to the gym. I don't go swimming. It'd be a strange man who stole them off the washing line. It just, they go on. And we're going to see the fucking eye. You're not going to hear the end of this story. So I went into this meeting, and what I had to do in the end was borrow my boss's cycling shorts. So I went into this meeting wearing cycling shorts. And to cut a long story short, if anybody does need a Fonzie impersonator for a wedding, I don't work for the council anymore. I can, at Ben Thurston, contact me on Twitter. And I did say earlier, I had my 40th birthday like 10 days ago. There is going to be a vote in a minute. If you just were voting for me because it was my birthday, that's a nice gesture, obviously. But, just get me something small. That would be fine. Okay, my name's Ben Thurston. Thank you. Bye.
Let's hear it again for Ben Thurston.